Welcome to creating a data flow task. Now in this little section of videos, I'm going to do 4 or 5 videos here, and we're going to pay close attention to what's going on inside data flow tasks, because these really kind of become the heart and soul of what we're using data tools and integration services for. Notice out here when we first open a project, and I've just opened an integration services project in SQL Data Tools in the Visual Studio Integration Services environment. And notice it always starts me off on the Control Flow tab, but notice I have a Data Flow tab, and when I bring it up without dropping a data flow onto the Control Flow, notice it tells me that no task has been added. I can click here and add one, and then we move across to parameters and stuff we'll get to later on in the course. But what I want you to see here, data flow is so foundational to what we're trying to do here. Most of the time, the only reason we've gotten into this tool is we need to move data around, okay? Notice on control flow, this is the overall flow of everything. I can do some things out here, right? Like execute a SQL task, and that means I want to create a table, drop a table, do something in SQL, and there's a lot of other things out here that I can do. I'll just leave that here for now because I want you to see how this fits. But keep in mind, normally, right, I would right click and edit this and go out there and like create a connection and add a SQL statement in here and type some SQL. But when it comes to data flow, notice that when I drag a data flow task onto the control flow surface, it drops a data flow task there. But to do anything with this, notice if I right click and edit this, it takes me to the data flow tab. And so now I can start to do things, okay? And I could do all kind of things here, all right? And for now, let's see, I'll just kind of grab something and drag it out here. I'll just drag a lookup. Haven't noticed the red X. I haven't finished configuring this or anything. But notice this is data flow task, okay? And if I come back out here, it shows up here as data flow task. Now I can right click this and rename this. I'll call it DFT1, right? And I'll just call it lookup for now to make it easy. Then I can grab another data flow task, right? And I can put it out there, and it puts another data flow task here. And if I go to my data flow tab now, make sure you understand the relationship here. I can look in the drop down and I can see there's that DFT1 lookup that I did. And then I can go back to the new data flow task that I just dropped here. And let's say that I'm going to do something with a row count here. And keep in mind, I'm doing a very simple example. To make anything really work here, I have to have a source, I have to have a destination, and I have to have some sort of flow going between them that makes sense. All right? But still, notice that when I go back to control flow again, there's that data flow task. And I will right click and rename this one. I'll just call it DFT row count. And notice how these are starting to line up, okay? And so now I can set precedences on these things, right? And I can set one here and just keep kind of working them down, right? And then notice I could send an email out here. Okay, so I can drag email on, right? And then I could drag this to the email, and then I can right click that and say on a failure, I want you to send an email out. Each one of these is a separate data flow. And if I go to the data flow tab, again, notice I can see these various data flows that I'm creating, and I can move between them. Make sure you understand that, because there's from time to time, part of working in integration services and in SQL Data Tools, part of it's art and part of it's science, okay? And so sometimes you'll want to put multiple things on a single data flow and have those occur in parallel, and then other times you'll want to put them into separate data flows so that you can control them a little easier out here on the control flow surface. I hope that makes sense to you. But what I really want to make you understand here is that when you create a data flow task, you are really creating one entire page, one entire work surface. And keep in mind, we can come up here and unpin these various windows, and this will give us the entire work surface, right, to begin to lay out this entire data flow. And then we can go to the next one, right? A lot of people may number these sequentially so they can keep up with them, but the bottom line is multiple data flow tasks show up out there on separate sheets, and they show up out here as separate individual data flows that we can work with precedents and all sorts of things, okay? So this is control flow, and anytime data is moving around, it's going to happen in the context of a data flow task. And by double clicking on that one, I can jump straight to that one, and I can fill this page out with data flow tasks, sources, destinations, data's moving around doing all kind of things. Then I can go to my other data flow task, put a source, a destination, data's doing all kind of things, and then come back out here and control them. I'll quit beating this dead horse. Make sure you're comfortable with this concept of data flows. And let me show you one more thing before I leave you. In the SSIS toolbox, let me pin this back up. You will notice that when I'm on the control flow, I see these particular tools, and when I get on the data flow work surface, you'll notice that these things change and I have a different set. Now I'm ready for my source and destination and start to tweak that stuff. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of the lowdown, the basics on understanding how data flow works and fits into the packages here.